So who in the hell is Will Ospreay anyways? He's All Elite BRUV. That's right, the aerial assassin Will Ospreay has officially landed in All Elite Wrestling. Considered globally to be arguably the greatest wrestler on the planet today, Tony Khan's blockbuster announcement to deliver one of the best talents in the world lived up to the hype. And here's a little nugget that'll make your jaw drop. Ospreay had the wrestling world at his feet, with WWE reportedly heavily interested and numerous links swirling around. Yet, Ospreay opted for AEW. So we have to give it up to Tony Khan and his people for pulling off this major deal, which is arguably the biggest signing of 2023, next to CM Punk returning to the WWE, of course. But for those who might still be a little less familiar with the Billy Goat himself, if a brutal war with Kenny Omega and teaming up with the oh-so-bald Don Callis wasn't enough of an introduction, we'll take you through the career of the Essex man himself. Stick around as we dive into everything Ospreay. From the unforgettable match with Ricochet that caught the world's attention, becoming a global superstar in New Japan Pro Wrestling, those WWE links, and how he's set to take over the US as the face of AEW in 2024. Will Ospreay is truly a sight to behold within the squared circle. With a combo of elite aerial ability and a devastatingly fast striking arsenal, his style has taken him to levels that are technically above where most have ever reached. Ospreay is known worldwide as one of the premier wrestlers in the world today, and for what it's worth, has the most 5-star matches awarded by Dave Meltzer of all time at a staggering 38. He's been a 2-time Best of the Super Juniors winner, a 3-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, a never openweight champion, the 2021 New Japan Cup winner, the second ever wrestler to hold New Japan's most prestigious title as a former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and is the current IWGP United States United Kingdom Champion. This is alongside multiple Rev Pro and Progress Wrestling title reigns, a pretty stacked resume to say the least. Ospreay trained to become a pro wrestler at Lucha Britannia's London School of Lucha Libre in Bethnal Green, and the dream began from there, making his debut in 2012. But with a style as hard-hitting and gravity-defying as Ospreay's, you might be wondering what inspired the aerial assassin to become a pro wrestler to begin with. Well, a young wrestling-obsessed Ospreay was channel surfing one day in 2005 and scrolled onto a TNA Unbreakable event, and as fate would have it, he landed right in the midst of arguably the greatest triple threat in wrestling history. During an NJPW Fans Bring the Questions match column, Ospreay said this: "I've always watched wrestling ever since I was a baby, but I was channel surfing once and found TNA, the three-way between Chris Daniels, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles. AJ grabbed the top rope and hit a springboard shooting star press. I was 14, 15 years old and I instantly thought, I want to be a pro wrestler. AJ Styles is the reason I wanted to be a pro wrestler." Ospreay has been a driving force in propelling the UK independent scene forward. He's been actively involved from its resurgence and peak in the mid-2010s, where it flourished as a hotspot for premier independent talent worldwide, all the way through the decline that followed after WWE's NXT UK drew most top talent away. Ospreay has consistently talked about how close the UK scene is to his heart, and how important it is to inspire and help the next generation, something he's backed up by continuing to headline Rev Pro shows to this day. Ospreay burst onto the scene in the UK in the early to mid-2010s, gaining recognition for his impressive high-flying style, something which went against the typical stereotype of a British wrestler, which is closer to a technician like a Zack Sabre Jr. Ospreay also found tag success as part of the Swords of Essex with Paul Robinson. The working relationship between Rev Pro and New Japan Pro Wrestling allowed some of NJPW's top talent to come to the UK for the occasional Rev Pro show. In 2015, Ospreay would face his idol, the newly crowned IWGP champion AJ Styles. Not only did Ospreay impress, but he found himself against the next IWGP champion later that year in the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada, whom he also made a fan of, perhaps the most influential fan he could ever have asked for. After this match with Okada, Ospreay impressed many of the top stars of New Japan. Ospreay noted that Okada and Tanahashi both sang his praises along with AJ Styles, who told New Japan that they needed to sign Ospreay. They say to never meet your idols, but maybe you should just wrestle them instead. Joining NJPW in 2016 as a junior heavyweight, Ospreay quickly rose to prominence. King Ricochet vs. Will Ospreay at Best of the Super Juniors 23 back in May of 2016 is the match that put Will Ospreay on the map. For better or for worse, this match was a lightning rod for controversy in the wrestling world, spotlighting the culture war between the more modern professional wrestling styles and tradition. Both wrestled an athletic style with a focus on high flying, but a clip of one sequence was the center of discussion. Early in the match, Ospreay and Ricochet Ospreay traded offensive moves for about 40 seconds, with the opponent countering each and every attempt. This sequence ended with both wrestlers doing a back handspring and staring each other down while striking a pose. Now, this was either the coolest thing you had ever seen in a wrestling ring, or would drag the Grandpa Simpson old man yells at a cloud right out of you. Wrestlers from older generations detested the sequence. Vader compared it to a gymnast routine, which led to a showdown in Rev Pro that Ospreay called the worst experience of his career, while many younger wrestlers defended the sequence, citing the athleticism required to execute all the spots. This match is a must-see to decide where you land. Ospreay's success was clear, becoming the first British IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion in 2017 before winning it 2 more times, and winning the Best of the Super Juniors twice. Critics had long warned of the potential dangers of Will Ospreay's spectacular but risky aerial style. Though he had avoided major injuries, 2 close calls involving bumps directly on his head prompted a realization of the genuine risk. He finally came to the conclusion that the danger was real and began to alter his wrestling style to be more power and mat-based, which not only made him a deeper threat, but allowed him to finally make a clean break from the junior heavyweight division. Around 2019, he gained acclaim as one of the best wrestlers globally, accumulating a run of 5-star matches. His transition to heavyweight gained momentum, marked by going after the Never Openweight Championship and defeating Kota Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom 13. Whether it was Kushida as a junior heavyweight or Okada later on, no matter how talented he is, Ospreay always ended up falling behind somebody. Okada, Ospreay's Chaos Group teammate, was the top star and always defeated him whenever they were drawn against each other in tournaments. Ospreay betrayed Chaos, as he was sick of always being in Okada's shadow. He finally defeated Okada at the G1 Climax 2020 with interference, and in the aftermath he formed his own group called the United Empire, where he became the Commonwealth King. A defining moment followed when Ospreay triumphed over Kota Ibushi, securing the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship in 2021, an historic achievement as the sole British wrestler to hold NJPW's premier title. Witnessing Ospreay's evolution from a pure junior heavyweight to ascending to IWGP World title level has been remarkable. He's mastered both styles in ways that very few historically ever have, with legends like the Dynamite Kid and Jushin Liger in that bracket. It's no secret that the blunt Essex attitude of Will Ospreay can get under people's skin at times. Ospreay has a bit of a habit of this, in fact, over the years, engaging in Twitter feuds with Vader and Seth Rollins over what company had the best wrestling in the world, and Randy Orton as a notable mention. He even got Seth to the point of comparing bank balances, for crying out loud. He also knows how to cash in on him. He got the Vader match, sold merchandise based on Rip Rogers' dive comments, and created little guy t-shirts after Rollins called out his size. However, it's his long-standing back and forths with Kenny Omega that really set the wrestling world alight. Ospreay vs. Omega is really a story of 2 of the greatest wrestlers of this generation being opposite sides of the same coin. Omega being the old guy Jin Ace, the top international star in Japan, who'd carried the company on his back before leaving to pioneer AEW, and Ospreay taking his old spot as the new guy Jin Ace. After leaving in 2018, Omega pulled Ospreay and Jay White aside and told them this company, at least the Western expansion and the pride of its foreigners, it's all in your hands. They're going to look to you to carry this thing, so you've got to do it, Omega. I said it to Jay and Ospreay knowing it was a likely scenario, but also hoping to light a fire under both of them. However, things soon turned sour. Ospreay pointed it to Ibushi's concussion he'd suffered in a match with Ospreay the same night Omega left NJPW, rendering him unable to be a part of Omega's goodbye, whilst Omega cast doubt on the job Ospreay had done in filling his shoes. The digital back and forth went on for 3 years, with verbal jabs constant between the two. The best professional wrestling is created when it feels real, and make no mistake, the tension was very real here. Things began to come together in the summer of 2022 when the pair faced off in AEW on opposite sides of a 6-man tag, involving Aussie Open and the Bucks, though it wouldn't be until Wrestle Kingdom 17 where we would finally get the clash we all wanted. The pair put on an absolute classic, receiving phenomenal critical acclaim all around, and a 6.25 stars from Dave Meltzer. It was an intense and brutal match with Ospreay losing to Omega. Omega largely dominated against an Ospreay portrayed as highly gifted but not experienced or grown enough to keep up with the elite chess player that Omega is. But things were far from over. The pair locked horns again at AEW Forbidden Door 2023, putting on another all-time great classic 6-star match, as the mentally unprepared Ospreay of before was a far more matured and ruthless version of himself. himself, hell-bent on revenge. One of the biggest talking points of the match was when Ospreay landed a Tiger Driver 91 on Omega, effectively dropping him on his head, or at least so it looked, a spot which many felt was highly dangerous. It just wouldn't be an Ospreay classic with big viewership in the West without controversy, now would it? Ospreay defeated Omega in a brilliant back-and-forth contest, though it took the intervention of Don Callis, one of the few critiqued parts of the match. One thing is clear though, there is unfinished business between the aerial assassin and the best bout machine. Ospreay would appear in AEW just months later again, first working with Don Callis to target Chris Jericho at All In, and then again at Wrestle Dream. The huge All In Wembley Stadium show was special indeed. The atmosphere was incredible, and as Will Ospreay walked out to Elevate It in front of a record-breaking 81,035 fans, for Will's sake, don't question that number, it was a truly special sight as the incredible crowd and visuals of England's most iconic stadium with an incredible fireworks display going off felt right for a wrestler of Ospreay's level. By this point, with Ospreay's contract being up in 2024, speculation over where he might be headed was rising. And though AEW had positioned themselves as a big favorite, the answer to who was interested was simply everyone. WWE were very interested. A dream match with Seth Rollins was enticing. And even more enticing was securing his future and working a safer style as his body gets more wear and tear. Though this had been a place Ospreay had never really expressed huge interest in going to, and had directly been critical over the wrestling style over the years. He'd have been a fool not to consider the most successful and biggest wrestling company on the planet, and they'd be fools not to chase the greatest in-ring performer going today. TNA was another real option, with a wave of momentum having just announced the switch from Impact back to the classic TNA moniker, and reportedly made a seven-figure offer to Ospreay. Ospreay's love for TNA inspiring him was clear, and having just worked 2023 TNA dates too, he made no secret of the special close-knit locker room community and unity they had. Staying with New Japan also couldn't be ruled out. After all, it had become a home for Ospreay, and the loyalty and love he had for this promotion is clear. Though above all else, AEW felt like the perfect spot for Ospreay to make huge money, reside in the UK for much of the year, and continue in a place where he can best flourish in an environment that suits the incredible pro wrestler he is today. On November 18th at Full Gear, it was revealed that Ospreay had signed a multi-year deal with All Elite Wrestling to start in early 2024. With AEW president Tony Khan touting his acquisition as a blockbuster signing, Ospreay's contract will allow him to reside in the United Kingdom, and also make select appearances for his beloved NJPW. Ospreay credited Khan for the trust he'd had in him for allowing him to work Wembley Stadium, and thanked him for changing his life. Get that money, Will. Love him or hate him, there's no doubt that Will Ospreay is one of the most gifted professional wrestlers of this generation, and he'll likely go down as one of the greatest in-ring performers to grace the industry. He's crafted a special legacy for himself in the UK and New Japan, and 2023 has been a phenomenal year for the aerial assassin. In his own words, he's not just looking to replicate that in AEW, he's looking to top it in 2024. We are in for a treat. So if you've liked the video, please drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and let us know in the comments below if you're excited to have the Billy Goat as All Elite next year.